Sakto, pero
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Dead Dare, a horror podcast.
Brought to you by Big Baby Studios.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Dead Air, a horror podcast. Before anything, I would like you guys to please check the description on whatever platform you're listening on and check our affiliate links. Because when you shop using our affiliate links, you help this podcast and you're supporting this podcast. That is all. So today we have a very, very special guest because he is not only a lawyer, not only a human rights advocate. He is also the latest TikTok star who I've been following. Ladies and gentlemen, we have attorney Chel Diokno. Hello, attorney.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hello, it's great to be here.
thank you, attorney,
Thank you
for coming
so
on our
much.
pod.
Sure.
Yes, thanks
I
so
have
much.
no idea how we got the attorney to get on. I have no idea what we did, but what an absolute honor.
Yes.
So, attorney, yes, we usually ask our guests first up, what is your origin, your horror origin? Yes.
Maybe we should introduce ourselves to Chel.
True.
This
Oh,
is a
wala.
fun part.
I was just so excited.
Yeah, I know. I guess I should go first. I'm Miguel. At the beginning, when we started this podcast, like early in the pandemic, I was the scaredy cat, the guy who liked movies but was afraid of horror. But now I can say I've grown comfortable with horror. That's my character development during the pandemic.
Yeah, and I'm the one who enjoys horror for the thrill of it. I like having fun watching it with my friends, but I'm not the one who went to film school. So when it comes to the very technical dissection of the themes and subtexts of each film, I don't really have anything to contribute, which is why we have
This guy.
This guy. You too, Miguel, by the way. You went to film school. Anyway, so hi, attorney. My name is Chris. In terms of character development, I'm the exact opposite of Miguel. I'm the big horror fan. So I was the one who kind of roped in these two people to start this podcast. So I'm the obsessed one, while Miguel was the scaredy cat, and Aaron was somewhere in between. But now actually we've kind of I think
Evened out,
our Venn diagrams have kind of slowly become one because
not
of this
just-
podcast.
And it's not just that I got manhid to horror. I kind of enjoy it now and I find the value in it as a genre. It's so fun. I can watch horror movies alone now.
Yes. And you live alone,
And I
which
live alone.
makes you
And I-
even braver.
Thank you, Aaron. Sometimes I even turn up the volume.
Wow, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
So here, let's go to where I excitedly started off. So, attorney, we're gonna be asking you of your horror origin. So, what was the first thing that made you like horror? Was it superstition, stories, books, or movies? Anything that started your interest in horror?
Well, I'm an avid reader. Ever since I was a child, I really lived in a house that was full of books. And I first got exposed to horror stories through books. I got acquainted with, of course, Stephen King, Peter Straub, Clive Barker, the older books, the stories of H.P. Lovecraft. And they really fascinated me. They really triggered my imagination. So that plus science fiction and fantasy were really what I would read almost on a daily basis at home. Did you guys see people on the podcast who won't see my face, but my smile was getting bigger and bigger. Every name that attorney mentioned, I was like Stephen King, smile. Peter Straub, oh my God. H.P. Lovecraft. This is incredible. So unexpected. Yeah, and from there, it just expanded. I started reading all sorts of books, anything I could grab on that genre, especially when it comes to horror. Right nowadays, I watch a lot of zombie movies. I watch a lot of anything that has that the element of good versus evil or the unknown. My line of work as a lawyer, things get so serious, so abstract. When you argue before the courts. So I really need a different kind of outlet when I'm not anymore a lawyer. I'm just relaxing at home. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
And I
like
love that
how
horror
I know.
is that.
I
For
know
relaxing.
we were all about to say the exact same
Yeah.
thing.
That's
For me,
Chris,
yeah, that's
basically.
great. Yeah,
Chris
basically that's Chris.
watches only horror. So
Yes.
that's nice.
For
That's
relaxation, indeed.
nice.
Yeah.
For
Yep.
relaxation, absolutely. The minute you realize that it's just all make believe, then it's just fun. You realize the genre is just really fun.
Yeah. Which is why I really enjoyed the movie that you chose. So can you let the listeners know what movie you chose and why you chose it?
Okay, I chose the movie It by Stephen King. I had first read the book long time ago. I vaguely remember seeing the TV series that came out of the movie, and then I watched in the movie house the movie It when it came out in 2017. And there's a recurring theme I think in Stephen King books about childhood, about good versus evil. That really, I don't know, it resonates in me. And when I first started watching that movie, it reminded me of the story by Ray Bradbury, "Something Wicked This Way Comes," which is similar, right? Where you have a circus come to town, that sort of thing. And it intrigued me. I had fun watching the movie.
Yeah, actually, I was one of those people that saw both. I saw the first one when it came out in the 90s, and I was a child, and I remember being really scared already. And then when I saw the remake in 2017, which I watched by myself, it did a good job. I felt like it did justice because I really enjoyed the TV movie. Did you end up ever seeing that one, attorney? The
I,
original one?
yes, but it's been so long.
Yeah.
I don't really remember much of it.
Right, right. I think it did justice to it, really.
This is going to be a fun discussion, I think, because there's so many things we can talk about. We can talk about the book, we can talk about the TV movie, we can talk about the fact that this is Miguel's first introduction to it.
Yep.
Whereas the three of us really have backgrounds on the story.
So I've never read the book, and I just know that there's an evil clown in it, and this is what I've heard. But I kind of am aware of the basic premise now. So wait, this is the part where I try to summarize the movie for our audience, right?
Yes.
Given
Sure.
in the past, attorney, they'd make me summarize movies because they didn't trust me with actually watching the movie we were supposed to watch. But I just
So
wanna,
this is our test for him.
yeah, which I've kind of taken on wholeheartedly nowadays as my job for this pod. So first of all, I tried streaming both movies, it and then because I knew that they were based on one book, so I kind of tried it, and then I knew it was after that was the sequel. What's the title of the sequel again? It's on.
The next chapter.
Yes,
Chapter 2, yeah.
I was gonna say It Follows. It's a different movie altogether. But so chapter 2, and I think I saw both, and I think I tried this thing of doing forwarding to some parts, and this is the part where we mentioned how we actually saw it, or one of the options available to us, Chris.
Yes.
So out there on the internet also, there's a book edit, like a fan made the effort of editing the two movies so that it kind of flowed like the book is what I assume it is. And the fan does a good job of doing a parallel run between the the adults and the younger kids in what is the past. So he kind of bridged the 27-year gap and made it flow into this one whole thing.
So for context, the first movie follows the kids, the storyline of the kids.
Yeah, the kids lang.
The second movie follows the story 27 years after, and it's a reunion of the kids now all grown up, and they're back to fight the big monster. The book is structured in a way that we always jump from the past to present time. So in the book, it's 1957, and then we jump to the 80s, back and forth, back and forth. So the storyline kind of is parallel all the way up till the climax.
In the movie, it's 1989 plus 27, no?
Yeah. So current date.
2016, exactly. Yeah.
Yes. So the book edit is basically a fan took both movies and edited it like it was in the book.
Yeah.
So like it would jump from to present, past to present, all the way up till the very end. So it's a very interesting way of watching it, basically.
And wow, what a pandemic project. He had time. He had time.
Yeah.
But continue your summary, Miguel, because we'd like to for you to streamline what the story is about.
So it's a bunch of kids who live in a town called Deary, and we find out that the town of Deary is cursed. Like every X number of years, a bunch of kids go missing and are never found again. And it kind of harkens back to a history in the town. Like parang even to the time of, I think, the Native American Indians, and even before that, parang nangyayari na tong phenomenon of kids missing. Like it's a bad town to be in if you're children. And like, there's like a murderous streak like throughout the, like in the townspeople also. So there's this barcada of kids, and then there's like around 4 or 5 core kids, and they become friends with an African American kid, and they become friends with a lone girl from school. They're all schoolmates, and they're called the losers. And all of them are haunted by something. Eventually, it's the creature who manifests itself in a clown that is behind all the hauntings. But each of them have a fear or a past or a little thing in their heart that kind of eats them up from the inside. So that's the premise of the horror, like how they confront their fears and how they quote unquote defeat the clown. But at the same time, what I love about this, I guess, the book, which I now want to read, is that since they're kids, it's also a bit of a summer coming of age thing. So they kind of also find out who they are and who they are to each other as they go on this really, really horrifying adventure.
Wow.
Wonderful. Attorney, how would you rate that summary?
How many stars?
How many stars?
Or if I were a student, what would be my grade?
Yes.
Well, definitely you'd pass. I'd probably give you something like an 85 or something like that.
I'll take it. That's my average.
That's
I'll take
great.
it. That's
Not
great.
bad,
I'll take
not
it. That's higher than my actual college average. Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Amar.
So yeah, I enjoyed your summary, Miguel. I also like how you ended on the fact that you enjoyed there was a coming of age thing, right?
Yes.
Because like Attorney said earlier on, it's a recurring theme in Stephen King's books. And actually, it's this theme that made me a extreme Stephen King fan. I love coming of age stories, and he does it so well. He did it in The Body, which was turned into the film Stand By Me. Incredible movie about, again, group of kids on the cusp of adulthood, confronting actual horror, stuff like that. So he does that so well, and that's one of my favorite parts of Stephen King's writing. So Attorney, you said that you grew up on Stephen King. I'm really amazed by that. It's so well on a number of things. Like I'm such a big fan, so whenever I find another fan, I find so much like I just want to talk about everything, And secondly, also, I'm really surprised that this would be something that you'd really enjoy. Were you a fan of Stephen King? Are you caught up with his more recent work?
I'm more familiar with his older work. I grew up reading or watching, Carrie, Christine, The Stand, which is one of my favorite books. I love the unabridged version of The Stand. I've read that book a number of times, among others. I like the way Stephen King writes.
Maybe time is also another good time to plug the incredible service called Shopee, which you guys do not know have an amazing first edition market of Stephen King books.
Oh, shoot.
Oh.
Like first edition.
You can use our link, ladies and gentlemen, to buy these books on Shopee.
These are first editions, 1970, like falling apart hardcovers. I just discovered them. I don't know. I just typed in Stephen King one day. I saw this, like it's a massive list, and so I basically redid my entire collection with first edition hardcovers. But yeah,
pakisend na lang yung link kay Attorney then para.
I will.
Attorney, what was your experience like watching the movie after having read the books? Because I also know that there are a lot of details in the books that were too much for the movie, which is why they just omitted it. But how do you feel they did justice to the movie?
I think they did a pretty good job. There were some parts that were, nakakagulat talaga. By the time I had watched the movie, I had pretty much forgotten what was in the book. It was only as I was watching the movie that I was remembering what was in the book. And it was, I got to see even the chapter 2, but I really enjoyed the first one more than the second one. Parang mas maraming thrills, it was more exciting than the second one.
And the charm of the
actually didn't
kids,
get
I
to
think,
see.
also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kids were so good. They were really, really good there.
A lot of them
Nothing
are
to say.
really doing well as actors now. Like parang they've progressed to bigger roles. Like the Stranger Things kid.
Mhm.
One of those kids is in Shazam. He's really good at it. Parang it just became. I don't know if they were famous before that, but it sort of became their springboard for their career also. Kahit na 2017 lang yan. Yeah.
Same thing
Yeah.
for the original ones. I think those kids like Jonathan Brandis.
Jonathan
was
Brandis
there.
was in it. Yeah.
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 So I really enjoyed that also. But this one was really, I remember leaving the theater really, really happy. Did you see it in the theater,
Yes,
attorney?
I did. Yes. I saw it in the movie house. Yeah.
Oh damn.
Yeah, because like for me, like this is exactly why we started this conversation, Miguel, about the book edit. Is because
Yeah.
I felt the second movie, because it lost so much charm because the kids
Yeah.
were barely there.
Yeah. I get
That's
it.
why the first movie really worked for me, because all the kids were so incredible. They're so good, and then just the contrast between them and this terrifying clown is just so big. And it loses a lot of that magic in the second film. That's why I felt the book edit really kind of made up for it.
I kind of lean that way also. Siguro kasi for me nga, di ba kanina in my summary, parang I mentioned na there's a bit of a coming of age element to it. And now that you see them as adults, that element is gone. And it's true na parang they're less interesting as adults. Parang they're more interesting as kids. And I don't know, and it's a summer, it was during there was school pala. Yeah, school ended. So parang I love that subgenre of summer and kids in a small idyllic town in America, and then things go wrong. Parang type yun. Versus
Really specific.
Yeah, I know. Like Jaws, something really goes bad during the summer. But parang as adults, parang hindi nga sila ganun ka-interesting ata. Like, nawala nga yung charm. And I think it doesn't help na major plot point na once you leave town and become an adult, you kind of forget pala the past. Parang they kind of forgot. It's only when they got back to town na nagbalikan lahat ng trauma nila, diba? So, yeah, I skew
So
towards the
I
first.
haven't seen the second movie
Oh, sorry.
yet, but
Sorry.
it's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Well, they just
I've
come back
heard
to
it
town.
now.
They just come back to town.
I know. So, attorney, were there any parts of the movie that were particularly scary for you? Anything that you remember?
Well, I think towards the climax, the parts where they went to really hunt him, and then he started to really play on their fears. The part I remember is where the clown took on the persona of Georgie, the younger brother of Bill, who was killed. Yeah, and those parts were scary.
I think also all the imagery of children being harmed also was really, really disturbing. That's why it's a really, honestly, it's a powerful film. It's shocking also being a father myself. And then like for me, and there's a lot of violence done to children in this movie. It really worked hard for that R rating. You know what I mean?
I was gonna ask nga, is the movie a sort of slightly watered down version of the violence or any other form of violence in the book? As a non-book reader, meron po bang mga did they kind of gloss over some stuff or kind of make it more palatable? I'm asking everyone.
Oh, yes.
Who's read the book? Yeah.
I haven't read the book, but there was that whole issue when the first It came out about how they were so close that they were all the children being very close.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that was one of the issues.
Yeah, the book
that-
is definitely a lot more shocking than the movie. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
But yeah.
I have another question for attorney. Attorney, you mentioned in the beginning, like one of the things that appealed to you about the movie was parang meron silang labanan of good versus evil. Is that a sort of theme that you favor, like when you look at literature or when you look at movies? Is that a theme na parang hinahanap-hanap nila?
I really admire how some authors can weave great stories around that theme. For example, when you look at The Lord of the Rings, ganun din naman yun. When you break it down, it's really a story of good versus evil. It's the story of how evil was so strong and yet these few people, these few, what I would call it, not all people, but got together and were able to defeat it. You see a similar thing when you look at The Stand, the movie of Stephen King, where again, you have like a post-apocalyptic scene and you have good people on one side and evil people on the other side. And I like how some authors can weave, the drama, the lives of people and put it in, and yet have that underlying theme of good versus evil. I guess it resonates with me because of the work I do.
Yeah.
As a human rights lawyer, as a lawyer in general,
Yep.
you have it's black or white. You win a case or you lose it. There's no in between. So that kind of story
Yes.
really sticks with me.
Mm-hmm.
Is Lord of the Rings also on the table? Just kidding. Like, 'cause I can talk about Lord of the Rings too.
Yeah, so I find it kind of fascinating, attorney, that you as a human rights lawyer, you actually watch these scary films to just kind of decompress because real life. I mean, let's be honest, real life is just scarier. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no way around it. I mean, all of this is just make believe. But I mean, especially in your line of work, this really must be nothing to you. A psychotic clown. A psychotic clown from space is nothing compared to the real evil that lurks in the hearts of
okay,
men.
I do have a little bit of a I don't like that Pennywise was a space spider.
Space
Even as a
spider.
child, I remember as a child thinking, wow, this movie is so scary. There was even this one scene, if you remember in the 2017 what happened in Beverly's bathroom with the blood, it was
Yeah.
all over the place, right? In the
Yeah.
bathroom. In the original TV movie, I found it scarier because it was just enough blood coming up from the drain. It
Mm.
wasn't the whole bathroom. So there were certain
Mm.
images that really stuck in my head from the first TV movie. Anyway, so there, I was just saying that scene was so good, and I remember so many really pivotal points in the movies. But then at the end, he's a space spider. I felt very let
Alien
down
pala
by
siya.
that. Stephen
Yeah.
King has had many great endings, and this for me was not.
Oh.
Well, that's the running joke is Stephen King writes a great story, but he falters in the end. That's why the character of Bill,
He makes that joke, diba?
the author, he constantly, they always tell him that your movie was great, but your ending was bad. So he's
Yeah, I
kind of the
remember.
stand-in for Stephen King. Yeah,
Oh.
he gets that a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
Lol.
also a really, really quick trivia. If Pennywise the clown is basically a Lovecraftian kind of evil thing from space, right? And
Okay.
he feeds on fear, so he feeds on emotion. That's
Okay.
what makes him stronger. That's what sustains him. And we all know that Stephen King's worlds are kind of interconnected. A lot of his stories are interconnected. If you've seen the excellent HBO show called The Outsider, the monster there is another monster that feeds on emotion, but he feeds on sadness. So there's a theory monster actually from the same race as anyway. They're monsters that feed on emotion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, stupid trivia. Sorry about that.
Attorney, if Pennywise were to feed on your fear, what would that fear
Ooh.
be?
Ooh, great
Wow.
question.
I
Oh, wow.
actually thought that's where you were going, Chris. I was like, oh, Chris is on
Yes,
the
no,
right
you're right.
track.
That's
It's
exactly
amazing.
where I was going. Yes, you read my mind.
And then
Yes,
you
thank you.
stopped. So I was just like, I will continue Chris's thought. But
Good
yes,
question.
what would your fear be?
Well, I think it's the fear that most of us have, of ghosts, fear of the unknown. Those are the things that sometimes get to me. As someone who's reached already the age of seniority, it doesn't bother me as much as it used to bother me before.
Mm.
But these are the things that I think we're all susceptible to those types of fear. And
Yeah.
what's nice, I think, about watching horror movies is it gives you a way of facing your fear in an environment where it's controlled,
Yeah.
and it's make believe, so it's easier to deal with.
Yeah.
That is so true. Pennywise would just put me on top of the Empire State Building, and then that would be how he defeats me.
Fear of heights?
Fear of heights.
Oh, yeah. I wonder what mine would be. I guess the usual death.
So he'll kill you with death.
Yeah.
Easy. Patay
And
agad.
then
Done.
done. Yeah. In the movie, ako yung unang victim.
How about you, Aaron?
I was just thinking of it now. I don't know. Also, I don't know what I'm scared. I am like attorney. I'm also scared of the supernatural, definitely. And growing up here in the Philippines, we have some scary things on Magandang Gabi Bayan Halloween
Yeah.
special. So when I'd hear about, if you smell tobacco, then one day I'd smell tobacco and I'd freak out because kala ko may kapre sa labas. So things like that. Yes, definitely. If you showed me aswang, any type, manananggal, wala na. That's my fear. I'm out. Just seeing it, I'll already be gone.
Attorney, is there a big movie watching habit in your family? Because I know your son is a film director. Is this something that is this part of your culture as in your family? Do you watch films a lot?
Yes,
And if you do you watch horror a lot with your family?
I actually saw it with my kids.
Oh, great.
And we have, before the lockdown, we really used to watch movies regularly. And one of our favorite pastimes when we would go out of town is Pepe, my son, would bring some films. We'd go, attach it to the TV and watch them. I saw Parasite with him. I saw lots of other good movies with my kids.
Love it.
Fantastic.
Does everybody share the same affinity for horror or scary movies, or kanya-kanyang
No.
genre yan? Yeah.
Kanya-kanya.
Okay.
So when one of my kids brings out their own film, it's different. And even Pepe's films, the films that he shows vary from time to time.
Sure.
Interesting. Love it.
And I know that you do love horror, but if you were to choose, would horror be your default to show the family if you were to choose a genre?
Well, I watch so many different kinds of films. I love watching documentaries as well.
Oh.
I watch some comedy, some drama, but basically, I guess you could say that my default is either sci-fi or fantasy or horror. It's one of those three.
That's, those are the top escapism genres.
Actually,
Yeah. I love it. That's fantastic. Would you know if Peppa would ever want to do a horror film, a hardcore horror film, attorney?
I've never asked him. I should. I should.
That would be pretty interesting. About sci-fi, it seems you're very genre friendly.
Yeah.
Jumping from really quickly from horror to sci-fi. What are the great sci-fi classics that you appreciate?
Oh, a lot. I like the books of Alfred Bester. I read a lot. When I was younger, I read a lot of Robert Heinlein and Isaac Asimov.
Mm-hmm.
The typical known sci-fi writers, I guess. After that, my taste in books has really evolved over time. In the last decade, probably I read a lot more mystery and detective fiction.
These are all our favorite genre.
I know.
I know.
Oh, detectives. Let me pull out my library. Who's your favorite author, detective-wise?
Marami dyan. There are so, I appreciate good writing. And to me, the medium they choose really doesn't matter as long as the writing is done well. So there are some authors, for example, I don't know if you're familiar with him, James Crumley. He's one of these hard-boiled detective writers, very graphic types of novels, but he's a really good writer. There's another guy, also not very well known, Elliot Pattison, who writes about a detective in Tibet during at the time when the China had already occupied. So it's a very interesting setting.
Sure. Yeah, that's next on my Shopee list. Let's see if they have that somewhere here. I'll get a first edition.
Elliot Pattison. Yon. This looks so
Wow.
good.
You found it, Miguel?
Yeah.
You ready to order?
Yes. Galing.
So you guys do this every week? You have a weekly podcast?
Well, the actual recording happens more than once a week sometimes. There are times also when we go through a bit of recordings and we kind of rest for a couple of weeks also. At the beginning, at the start of the pandemic, well, when we started doing the podcast, after the pandemic started. Parang weekly kami nag-record. It was our way of also hanging out virtually.
And coping.
And cope.
And cope.
And at the end, coping. Yeah.
Yeah. This was our escapism.
Yes, true.
And the great thing about it, attorney, is you'd be surprised at the people who like horror. It's very, very surprising. We've had people on like Jasmine Curtis is a big fan. Musician Ellie Buendia is a very big fan. So it's very, very interesting. We find,
and it's also interesting to see who don't. And
Yes.
we've had a lot of guests who don't like horror,
Mhm.
and then we discuss a movie that horrified them to the point of not watching horror movies anymore.
yeah. Yeah, so
And-
it's just the best part is meeting these people, meeting everyone. It's a mixed bag.
And for me, parang the exposure to, like since I'm horror averse nga, in the beginning, I just thought horror was like monsters or psychological, but parang the genre is so wide. And I'm very happy with the exposure I got. Even from the Asian horror that other people made us watch through, I'm very happy.
Scary.
Yeah,
Okay, let's.
That warms my heart. Okay.
sure.
Now, usually, attorney, how we kind of segue away from from fictional horror to real life horror. We started this podcast at the beginning of the pandemic. As we said earlier, it was kind of our way to cope. Way back in May of last year.
last year.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think so.
So we'd love to hear how you got through the past year, attorney, coping
Have you
with the
done anything
lockdowns.
new?
Did you do anything new? How has your
Take-
life changed since then?
Take up new
We'd love to
hobbies.
hear all that.
Oh yeah, I picked up a couple of domestic skills like taking care of plants, learning how to cook a bit
Up here.
lang.
Me also. What's your go-to dish now, attorney? That's your pandemic dish.
Cauliflower rice.
Very
healthy.
healthy.
Very healthy.
Yeah.
Mine's like a triple burger, bacon smothered with cheese. The exact opposite.
Mine's the banana bread. I've sort of kind of perfected that. So lame.
Nah.
It's so what guys, when this is all over and we go to the potluck, I'll bring banana bread because it's my thing now. Yeah. Not even sourdough, because that's a bit hard yet if you make sourdough bread. I can do a banana bread.
I also got into plants, attorney, but then I gave up because there was a time, I think early last year. So I started getting into plants and I was really into it. Yung kinakain kong prutas, I'll get the seeds and I'll germinate it and I got that deep into planting. And then that summer was so hot that all the plants died. And
Oh,
after that, I didn't want to do it anymore. Have you killed plants, attorney?
Well, I'm very happy to say that most of the plants I've taken care of have lived. And,
I'm so jealous.
I have this very good relationship with the birds in my area. They've gifted me with a couple of plants that I have managed to grow. When I was a kid, I had an affinity to Aratilis tree.
Oh, where are those? Yeah.
Because near our house, there was an Aratilis tree where I used to climb and eat the fruits. So for the longest time, I wanted to grow an Aratilis tree. And one time, many years ago, I even asked in some garden shop and they said, ay, ano po yan wild yan. Hindi naman yan pwedeng, cultivate. Then one day, I was tending to my plants here and I saw what looked like a small Aratilis tree, just a sapling. And I said, I wonder where this came from. And when I asked a friend, it turned out that it really was an Aratilis tree. So I transplanted it, put it in a pot, and now it's like 5 feet tall. It bears fruit. I actually have fruits from my tree. And just the other day, in another of my pots, I saw another one. So I suspect it comes from the birds. They
Sure.
around, And so, I have a number of nice plants here.
So basically, Aaron, attorney is the exact opposite of you. You kill the trees.
That's okay.
Attorney raises them to.
But I gave up on them. So.
No, in the beginning, I had a hard time with some plants, but now we're on very good terms. So
Friends.
friends na kami, friends.
Do you talk to them?
Yes, yes, I
Kailangan
do.
daw
I
eh.
talk-
Oh, okay. So that's what stopped me from getting into, because I heard you had to talk to them, and then it just felt strange because I live alone na nga, and then I didn't know if it was gonna be healthy for me to talk to. Pero parang in hindsight, it could have been healthier if I had talked to them.
Actually, it could have been healthy for you, Miguel.
Yeah, I know.
For your mental health.
I know.
It could have helped.
My brother also does well with plants. Ako lang my mom and my brother, they do well with plants. So, and then attorney brought up the aratilis. That's like a fruit from my childhood. Aratilis and kamyas. I grew up in a neighborhood where we had those trees, and literally, it was so idyllic. Parang pipitas ka lang talaga, and it was your merienda na. And it was really fun being able to figure out what aratilis was ripe, ano pa yung hilaw, kasi mapakla pag hilaw, and then matamis pag. And then now, I can't find that where I live now. I live in the middle of the city, and I can't find an aratilis tree anymore. So I wonder if they grow in places wherein there's more room. Parang hindi siya uso sa city eh. Hindi ko siya makita dito sa Makati.
There's not enough ground.
That's one of my favorite things. Not favorite things, but one of the positive things that have come from the pandemic is really I discovered more of nature. I grew up in Mindanao, attorney. So over the past year, we spent a lot of time in the place where we grew up in Cagayan de Oro, and it was really just amazing. Just reconnecting with everything. My mom has a really fantastic farm.
Great.
I sound like such a cliche about like a tito, but like
it's okay,
the fresh air,
Yeah.
the trees. It was like, why do I want to go back to Manila again? I'm not sure why. Like
You sound
now I can work from home. I mean, I can work from here. My internet's fine.
You sound like a middle-aged guy, and that's what you are.
And
that's cool.
that's what I am. I have really grown into my age, Miguel.
Yeah, I know. I guess, sorry, like when I talked about plants and I should have been talking to them, but I guess mental health is a thing that we're all dealing with also during this pandemic. I think when I say I bake banana bread, that was more for my mental health also. Like I got into coffee and banana bread. So these are very, you kind of get into a process when you make these things. Attorney, aside from getting into your plantito phase, are there other ways you've also discovered that you like doing to just take care of your mind during this whole pandemic?
Well, I've done a lot of biking.
My friend. Yeah.
I love biking and even birding. I started getting.
Attorney, I think these two want to be your
Real life
kabarkada
friends.
already.
We can go biking.
It's too much. The
You
interests
can go
are
biking and read Stephen King. I love
I
it.
and talk about sci-fi. Oh my god. Anyway, sorry, attorney, you were saying, do you combine birding and biking in one go? Oh,
Sometimes.
shoot. Yeah.
But generally, it's just around the city. Once in a while, we go out of town when you can, when there's no walang ECQ.
Yeah.
Although my sport of choice, I love playing badminton. That's really my sport. And whenever I have a chance, that's the first thing I'll do is play.
Is it bawal pa rin now?
Yeah.
It is. It's one of the listed things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. It's indoor kasi sayang. But I'm also slightly annoyed na they also banned outdoor exercise. It was one of the things that was keeping me slightly more sane. Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keeping me sane, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Attorney, I have a question.
Go for it.
So I follow you on TikTok.
Yes.
Okay.
What
We're
made
there.
you-
We're there.
We watch
Because we do watch. And what made you decide to join TikTok? Because a lot of people are very resistant to it, myself included in the beginning.
But now she's a star.
You're doing the memes so well, and what made you decide?
So good.
What made you decide to get on TikTok?
Any medium available that will get me to get my message across is something that's there, and it's a waste to not use it. When I saw TikTok, sabi ko, why not? I mean, this is a lot of young people really watch it, and in fact, I am surprised that the people who watch it come up to me and say, "Oh, I saw you on TikTok." Even my students, some of them tell me that. But it's a creative way of getting a message across, and it's a challenge to me as well. Keeps me young put it that way.
I was going to ask attorney, like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but did you have to ask your kids how to do it? Like, because even me, as a 40-year-old dude, but when I look at TikTok, I can't imagine beginning how to, like, making one. I'm happy to watch it. I find it super educational. It's super funny, but I'd be super intimidated to make my own first TikTok video. Like, how did you? Were you unnatural? You look at it like, I can do this, or did you have?
No. I have an advantage because of my kids. Of course, aside from my eldest, Pepe, who's really into film, and my other kids are really good in social media and online. They're the ones who guide me. Really.
That's great. I will look at tutorials.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a dancing TikTok. I want to be a informative TikTok.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's also what I told my kids.
Yeah. Great. I think a lot of.
But I love the fact that it was actually an option for you.
yeah. Dad, do you want to do dancing?
No. Let's stick to the informative side.
Because a lot of people, especially people our age, Chris, parang TikTok, it's just people dancing, but it's super educational. Like people
really
talk
is.
people talk about plants, people talk about urban planning. It's so smart. And then parang galing ng, parang kita mo na the kids nowadays, like, I can't believe I said that. Kids nowadays, parang they're gifted communicators. Parang to be able to utilize the medium.
Incredible.
It's incredible. I'm a big fan.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Anyway, sorry, I went on.
Do you spend a lot of time on the app, attorney?
Not really.
Because I was going to ask you if there was anything that you have seen on TikTok that you particularly like.
Oh, I have seen a lot. Yung iba nakakaaliw naman talaga.
Yes.
Sometimes I get ideas, and I say, oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
But it's I tend to surf from time to time, and I go on different platforms. So whatever I see that interests me, I talk to my kids about it.
What's your the very random question? What's your favorite social media platform?
Exactly. I was going to ask that also. Like,
We were all there.
Are you a Facebook person? Instagram person?
No, not exactly. I guess Twitter, but
yes.
I don't know. I suppose I would say it's Twitter. Yeah.
For information and speed of information, I'm definitely Twitter.
Yeah, like even my news now is you just follow the news out a journalist. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's how I get most of my information through Twitter. Verified sources, of course. Always check your sources, people. Be wary of sharing fake news.
Isn't Twitter a little crazy though? That's why I'm not on Twitter, because I know it gets a little too much, and it's all words. You know what I mean? Sometimes when you attack with all caps, it's too overwhelming for me. That's why my Twitter, I only follow pop stars. Like everyone else I follow elsewhere, but Twitter, no. You don't even know my handle, I think.
Like I find Facebook is the more toxic environment.
One, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like for me, Facebook. It's like you feel like it's just there's just no hope. Sometimes you're just like fighting a never-ending battle on Facebook. That's what I feel anyway. So maybe we should all move to TikTok.
There's also an area of TikTok that's all like that. I think also social media platforms.
I mean, it's inevitable.
Inescapable.
I am sure you deal with a lot of those social media just trolls and everything. How do you manage to handle it with such grace? Because even your clap back on your TikTok, it is just
so good.
Yes. So how are you able to deal with that? Do you do it on your own? Like, or do you just not mind any of it?
Well, part of it is my own experience. I've been a trial lawyer for 30 years. So we have a saying among trial lawyers na bawal mapikon. Kasi, so dala-dala ko yun. And then the other aspect of it, I think, is that I just tend to ignore it because I know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
I know that it's designed to provoke. So the best way, diba, they say, is don't engage. And that follow that.
That's very smart.
Yeah, it's
Because
very smart. But
so
sometimes
hard to
it's
do.
just so
Mature.
tempting.
It's very mature.
It's
Yeah,
just so tempting sometimes.
it's very
Yeah.
mature. Yeah.
I really have to bite my tongue several times a day. I'm like, no, don't engage, don't engage. And then the
And
second
yet,
I do, I always regret it. Whenever I do engage, I always regret it.
Especially in the live feed, live news, the people
Mm.
just commenting on live news. Before you just kind of
oh
I
man.
want to reply to this person, but I don't anymore. It takes maturity to do that.
It really does. So Miguel, you and I would not cut it
Yeah.
as trial lawyers. Let's be clear
Yeah.
about that.
Well, first of all, we wouldn't make it past law school anyway.
Excuse me.
Attorney,
You're
I have
right.
attorney, I have a bit of a serious question though. We know how it feels like, and I guess this is related to horror if you want to force it. Like society has kind of become very. I mean, I know there are bright spots in the world, but there are also a lot of dark spots where we've turned on each other, or we've become trolls online. And sometimes in real life, people are really behaving badly or not being good to their sa kapwa tao. Do you feel hopeful? In other words, do you feel na we can turn ourselves around, or do you feel that I don't know, hopeless? I guess is my question. How do you feel about this thing na parang, it seems like a worldwide phenomenon of people being awful to each other?
Well, one thing about me is I grew up during martial law. I was 11 years old when Marcos declared martial law, and I was 25 when they left the palace. So basically, my entire childhood and teenager life was under a dictatorship. And in the beginning, when I was young and my dad was in jail, he was put in jail for 2 years without any charges. I had pretty much lost hope. Nobody was saying anything. Everybody was scared. But over as the years, as time elapsed, more and more people started to stand up, and it eventually ended up with EDSA. That made me realize that there is always hope. When you think that things are really dark, there's no darkness without any. You can't have darkness without light. So they have. It's a dualism in a reality, and it just happens that when you're in a situation that seems hopeless, if you look at it from another perspective, it's just a phase that will pass. And that's what I experienced in my life during that time. And I know it's going to pass again. So when we sometimes, you feel what they call the underbelly of modern life. But at the same time, there's also the bright side of it. And it all depends on how you want to look at it, really.
Understood.
Is this why films like It, or storylines like It, kind of resonate with you because of that underlying message of hope in the darkness? Banding together to defeat evil is a metaphor for just never giving up in the face of evil.
I suppose that's probably part of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I cannot think of a better way to end this episode than on
I
that
know.
last quote from attorney. It seems like such a perfect way to summarize everything. Aaron, do you want us to do our wrap up?
Yeah, sure. So what we usually do when we wrap up is we have our last few words about the movie. Wow, we went so far. Completely forgot this was about a horror film, but I like where it went. So any last things to say about the movie? So I guess I will start. I really, really enjoyed the 2017 remake of It, considering I was such a huge fan of the original TV movie. It was still scary. It was I kind of regretted watching it by myself, but I really enjoyed it. So that is mine.
Okay, I'll go next. Really quickly, I'm a very big Stephen King fan. Huge fan of the book. Huge fan of the movie. If you do have the time and the patience, please download. If I don't know if it's legal, but find a way to get yourself a copy of the book cut of it. It's very interesting. Like attorney said, what really resonates with me with stories like this are really just banding together to defeat evil, which is something we should do here in the Philippines at some point. But
Agree though. Agree.
you know, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's really. I mean, everyone knows how much of a fan I am. So please, let me go.
I'll go next then so attorney can wrap it up. Like for me, ako yung mababaw. Like I enjoyed the movie because it was a summer coming of age movie, which is one of my favorite genres. Na parang got wrapped up. Parang it just it got wrapped in this like horror scenario. But as a guy who saw the sequel also, parang I liked how it arced. Like I liked what happened to these people, these kids. Parang I enjoyed finding out what happened to them as adults. So I it makes me want to read the book. In other words, and I guess if I did, there might be hope in there. Sorry.
Well, I've seen a lot of movies from Stephen King books, and I think it is one of them that really captured the essence of the book. I can think of just a few others that would be comparable, maybe The Shining, if you want to. And I really can't wait. I hope that some real good director comes up with a new version of The Stand, because I would love to watch that in the movie house.
Attorney, the mini series just came out last year of The Stand.
Miniseries?
Yes, the
Miniseries.
miniseries, yes.
There's an 8-episode miniseries that came out last year. It's pretty good. You might want to check it out.
I should.
If you really like it. Yeah.
I'll look that up. Well, thank you.
Well, before you finally go, is there something you'd like to promote, or let's say, is there something you want to push forward or talk about before we, like any of your advocacies?
Yes, well, a lot of people really have questions about the law. So I have on my Facebook page what we call a free legal help desk. So if anyone has anything they want to know that's legal in nature, you can just go to my FB page, click send message, and we have a team that answers your questions. So anything that has to do with quarantine regulations, labor, family, property, whatever it is that's legal in nature, we'll try to help you.
Thank you, attorney. That's so helpful.
Fantastic.
Okay.
All right. And just one last question, attorney, really quick. Is there something that you can say for the young people who need hope? It's a worldwide thing, so maybe if you have an insight that you'd like to share.
Well, first of all, always remember to love yourself. I mean, we have to take care of our health, not just physically, but mentally. And second, never lose hope, because hope is really what gives us energy to change what we feel should be changed in the world. And there's so much that you can do as a young person to make this world a better place.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for agreeing to do this episode with us. We're very excited.
We're very excited.
Thank you as well.
It was
such an
meet you,
absolute
sir.
honor to have you on.
Yeah, thank you,
Thanks.
sir.
It was
Thank
a lot
you very
of fun.
much. Have a good night.
Thank you so much, sir. Take care.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Brought to you by Big Baby Studios.